For parents, the health and welfare of their children is certainly a top priority. If thoughts of your child's well-being keeps you up at night, you're not alone. Parents spend 37 hours a week worrying about their kids, according to a survey by OnePoll for Lice Clinics of America, with 59% of parents reporting they have lost sleep worrying about their children. No matter the stage in your child's life, it can feel like there's always something to worry about, from their social life and academic success to their mental health. One of the biggest concerns for parents, unsurprisingly, their children's physical health. 95% of parents worry about their child's physical health, according to the OnePoll survey. Today, we're joined by Laura Garza, a mother of 3, and her 13-year-old son, Isaac, who is a Kawasaki disease survivor and a heart disease patient. Thank you for joining us today. We personally love you at STHS and STHS Children's, and we're really honored to have you all here to talk about Isaac's health and how we can prioritize the health of our children.
Thank you for having us, Tom.
Now let's talk a little bit. Now you have 3 sons. So you have Danny, who's 27, you have Isaac here, who's 13, and then you have Jacob, who's 12. Before Isaac's health scare, what was Danny's health like, and what was the overall health like for your kids?
My kids have been generally healthy. The worst had been like ear infections. Isaac's illness was something that took us by surprise. Never had heard of Kawasaki disease. That was the biggest health scare of our life.
And this was August 22, 2016, 6 years ago. Talk about that day. Isaac, what do you remember from that day?
I do not remember a lot. I only remember bits and pieces from what happened.
All right, Mom, tell us a little bit about what was the situation like at that moment.
So it was the Sunday before his first day of 2nd grade, and we were running around that day. We had gone to get haircuts, had lunch, last minute school supplies, and that night he had a fever. So I remember telling him like, oh no, you're not gonna make it to your first day of school because you're running a temperature. So the next morning took him to the doctor, and he had strep throat. So he was giving antibiotics. We said, okay, he'll be out 2-3 days. But he just didn't improve, and he was getting sicker. And by the 3rd day, he couldn't walk. He was running really high fevers. He had a rash. He was in bad shape. And so he was admitted to PICU. It became really bad really quickly. And 5 days later, his heart stopped. So he suffered 2 cardiac arrests, was given 90 minutes of CPR. And once he was revived, he was transferred to San Antonio. And it is in San Antonio that we met Dr. Camacho, his current pediatrician, who is at South Texas Children's, and she diagnosed him with Kawasaki disease. And he became her patient from that day on. And she was the biggest blessing because she came in and told us everything we needed to know about this illness. You know, she couldn't explain why it happened because honestly, nobody knows what causes Kawasaki, but just to have that type of support system from a medical professional that was so honest and open and so well informed was a lifesaver for us. It's been so helpful to know that she's a phone call away. And that's something that I really love about her, that she's always been there for us.
Now, Mom, tell us a little bit about the aftercare. So he survives this Kawasaki scare, and you now are doing these routine visits. How often were you needing to go to the doctor, and how has it progressed in those 6 years?
Well, when Isaac was released from the hospital, he was still having problems walking. So we had to go through rehab. He was on a lot of medication. He was at one time taking 8 different medications, including injections that I would give him for his condition because he was dealing with aneurysms. Kawasaki affected his heart and caused him to have jumbo aneurysms. So we were doing follow-up visits every 2 weeks, and then gradually it became once a month, and then every 3 months, 6 months, and a year.
All right, and then unfortunately, Isaac did have COVID in January. He contracted COVID this January, and it did impact his health. Is that right? And are you glad that you were able to get the vaccine for him?
Yes, absolutely. He did return to school, and he did get COVID. And because he was vaccinated, his symptoms were not that, they were mild, you know, and he was doing very well, both him and Jacob. But unfortunately, my worst fear came to life because it did affect his heart. So now his arteries have dilated, and he had already been released. He was kind of like under the radar already, and he was okay as of last year's cardiology visit. And so now because of this dilation, he's back on his cardiologist's radar. And so he'll be needing to have some other exams later on this year.
So it's one of those things that, as a parent, you're constantly monitoring your child's health, and as it improves or if it decreases, you have to be making sure that you have that relationship with your doctor. So what advice would you have for those people who are watching, those parents who are watching and think, and we have examples of people who will say, oh, my kid had a fever for 3 days, or things like that. What advice do you have for parents, and especially about making sure that they seek medical attention for their children and are really vigilant about their child's health?
I believe that you should have a good doctor in your corner. Have a really open line of communication with them, and go see your doctor. Or at least get that line open so that maybe they can say, you know what, sometimes doctors will say, no, something's going around, we'll prescribe something, but you have to have that communication with your doctor. It makes you sleep better at night. It really does.
And Isaac, does your mom worry a lot about you? Does she baby you a lot, or do you feel like you're okay?
It's kind of, sometimes I'll be all right on my own, and then she'll tell me stuff that I can't do or what I can do.
And that's okay, because it's all part of your health, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, and that is very important advice that we're sharing with the audience, and making sure that parents do stay vigilant and have a very strong relationship with their doctor. If you'd like to learn more about Isaac's story, you can visit the South Texas Health System YouTube page, and you'll see his full story there.